is going on, YouTube? So recently I was watching a podcast from Dad Level Podcast, and near the end of the podcast, they were talking about how it just seems like the Xbox 360 doesn't get enough love. As you guys know, in a recent video where I did my console tier list, where I ranked all the video game consoles, Xbox 360 and obviously I think Xbox One got very high remarks. Now, as of late, I've been more of a Sony gamer. I picked up a PS5 a few years ago and absolutely love it. I've been playing most of my physical media games on it. But on top of that, over the holidays during Black Friday, I had sold my arcade 1-ups and picked up an Xbox Series X. And with some Christmas money and stuff like that, I ended up picking up some Game Pass, basically. So I've been playing Indiana Jones and some other games. It's really reminding me of how amazing the Xbox was. As a lot of you can recall, I really didn't have an Xbox One or an Xbox console for a while now. I had the Xbox One, but I ended up selling it, and then I got a PS4, and then I got a PS5. Now, I just wanted to talk today about why I really, really loved the Xbox 360. So first, we're just going to address the big elephant in the room, in which everybody who is not an Xbox fanboy always has to bring up, and that is the fact of obviously the Red Ring of Death. Now, everybody's always like, oh, well, that console sucked at launch. There were so many that got the Red Ring of Death, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I had a few buddies that, it was bad. It honestly was super bad. I remember my one buddy, he ended up getting a 360, had it for a month, and got Red Ring of Death. And then we warrantied it out and sent it back to Xbox. They fixed it, and then he got it back. And then another month later, it Red Ring of Death again. And he's not the only one. I had a few friends like that. Well, when I finally got my Xbox 360, however, it was at the point that the arcade version was released that I think had the Jasper unit is what it was called, I believe. And that one was amazing because it had a whole new system set up in it that would allow it not to overheat, essentially. And it was awesome. I got it, and the very first game I ever played on it was Mass Effect. And I remember at the time I was working at Godfather's Pizza, which is a big pizza place around here, the Midwest. And every time I got off work, I rushed home that night to play Mass Effect. I really didn't have games like Gears and stuff right away. It was mostly, to me, like I said, the very first games I can remember playing is Mass Effect, and then I picked up Ninja Gaiden 2, which is kind of a coincidence that we're talking about that today, because they recently just dropped the Ninja Gaiden 2 Black on Game Pass, which I'm downloading right now, because as soon as I finish Indiana Jones, I want to go back and play that game. I hear it's surprising a lot of people about how hard it is. But that was just it. It was like, I remember playing that so much, and when they said, no one really talks about the 360 as much anymore. Obviously, last year it was trending very good because the Xbox 360 store was closing, so everybody was FOMO buying all these games, talking about it so much, and then once that was done, everybody just kind of dusted it and put it back underneath the rug. And like Dad Level said, it's not even getting as much love as it once did. So we've already talked about the Red Ring of Death. I think I had a video last year talking about the 360, but of course I want to talk about it again because I loved it. It was obviously it's honestly in my top 3 favorite consoles. It had so many great franchises. Specifically, one I can think of off the top of my head is Gears of War. It just absolutely gorgeous game. The Lancer, the main weapon in that game, is still one of my top 3 or whatever favorite weapons of all time in a shooter. The fact that the gun itself is awesome, and then when you reload, if you time it just perfect, you get that amazing fast reload. And then on top of that, the melee for it, when you rev up that chainsaw and you go up against the horde and you just cut them in half, it's absolutely great. And the other big thing I could just tell you about is it just seemed like every one of my friends jumped the PlayStation bandwagon and went for the Xbox 360. Even if you had a PS2 when the OG Xbox was out and you didn't have it, everybody seemed to jump ship for the Xbox 360. Now, the other thing that we're going to address too is that, you know, obviously the PS3 was out at the time, and it was a juggernaut in itself. It was one of the first. I think it was the first console that had the Blu-ray capabilities, which at the time was kind of a battle between Xbox and PlayStation. So I thought about doing a video about that sometimes too, but people don't know that the Xbox 360 had a separate disc drive, I believe it was, that was set up for HD movies. So they had HD DVDs and they had Blu-rays. Now obviously over the years Blu-ray won and HD kind of just drifted off, but it was something cool that not a lot of people know about, so maybe I'll do a video about it someday. But yeah, the PS3 came out, and I think what really sold the Xbox 360 on this era was the fact that the PS3s were expensive, like legit $500, $600, which some of you guys are like, oh, you know, that's what the consoles are nowadays. But if you look at inflation and stuff over the last 20 years, that was a lot more money back then compared to nowadays, where easily you go to Walmart, you spend $200, it feels like. But yeah, and then on top of that, not a lot of people like to talk about the yellow light of death, which was PS3's version of the Xbox Red Ring of Death. But yeah, I just remember that we had one buddy that had a PS3. Otherwise, everybody else had Xbox 360s. And once again, I want to blame it on affordability. And yeah, so another reason that people always argue with me why PS3 is better is it had free online play for most games, which it did. But I always argue back too, because of that, they were easily hacked, and a lot of people had a lot of their personal information released. I know at the time it was actually just, what do I want to say, like, I think it was just like good-natured hacker terrorists for it or whatever, but so it wasn't really given to the wrong people. But still, in general, they easily hacked that, and it was just ridiculous. But that's what I loved about it, was the online play. So yes, we had to pay every month for Xbox Live, which I think was like $7 back then, to play, you know, Halo, Gears, Madden, everything like that online. But I think too that I really enjoy the Xbox user face and all the you know, the interlays and stuff like that go on the inside. It just seemed much more functional and looked amazing. And it just, yeah, I always loved that Xbox Green, and then it just always seemed to have much more cool stuff than the PS3 at the time. But I, of course, did not have a PS3 when those era was. It wasn't until, you know, I want to say 5 years ago, I finally picked up a PS3 and I played Last of Us and Metal Gear Solid 4 finally on it. Because at the time, that was the only way to play some of those certain games. And I missed out on a lot of exclusives. But I also played a lot of great exclusives on the Xbox. Halo Reach, for example, is one of my favorite games. And yeah, Halo 3, everything like that was just... I had so many great memories playing the Xbox online. And like I said, it was great then too, because all my buddies had it, and I lived in the country. So, you know, I said, like, I worked at Godfather's and stuff like that, but I lived out in the country, out farther away from my buddies. So a lot of times if I wanted to go play with them, I had to drive to their house. But when, you know, the Xbox Online and stuff was starting to get popular, and we were able to play great games like Halo Online, it really was nice to not have to go somewhere else and play split screen with somebody, which was still a great option back then. I really missed that opportunity with a lot of games nowadays, is playing split screen with somebody online, or just straight up playing couch co-op. I feel like that is obviously lost over the years. But yeah, I want to know what you guys think about the Xbox 360 in the comments below. Were you an Xbox 360 guy? Were you a PS3 guy? Obviously, you know, the other elephant in the room is GameCube and Wii and stuff like that. So I've said in the past that after like Super Nintendo and stuff, I really didn't, or the Nintendo 64, I really didn't like the Nintendo consoles. I kind of just moseyed on over to Sony and Xbox and stuck with those ones. But I want to know in the comments below, did you guys ever prefer the Xbox 360 over the PS3? And also, what was some of your favorite franchises for the Xbox 360? Make sure you guys comment that below. I'd be interested to see what you guys think about that. And also make sure that you guys, I will try to remember to put it in the description below, and tag him. But make sure you guys go check out Dad Level Podcast for some great podcasts. A lot of times they go for long. I think the last one that I was watching was 3.5 hours long. So if you need something for background noise, something that just to listen to while you're doing stuff, it's great to have. Obviously, he's always got great guests on there, and I mean, what's better than talk about video games, guys? So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay retro, my friends, and we will see you in the next video. God bless, guys.